Linked view properties. Okay, so we're moving on to looking at the linked view properties. We're going to start from our previous file where we left off. So 0704 Revit building. We're going to do a save as. You might call that one begin. And then we'll save as complete. Okay, so what are we going to do? We're going to edit the linked view properties. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, let's go to a site plan. Okay, it looks fine. But what if we want this view to look like a view that was actually done in the site plan? For instance, in the site plan, or some of the geodetic heights in here, we use the spot elevation tool, we use some contour tagging and so on. How do we do that? Well, what we can do is just go into the properties of this view. You can get that through VV or VG, whatever you prefer. I like VV. And then you go to Revit Links. There's a tab right at the top called Revit Links. And you have some options here. So you can say, for the most part, you could just say, I want this file to display as per the host view. So it's always going to defer to what was set in model categories and annotation categories. Okay, so let's go back over to links. What if we want something different? So what we can do is we can click on this By Host View button, and that'll open up another dialog box. And in this dialog box, it's kind of like just the specific properties for the link itself. And you can notice everywhere we look here, it's saying By Host View. Okay, everything's by host. Well, what if we were to change that and say By Linked View? Well, what link view do you want to show? So for instance, we've got this one right here. It says floor plan sea level. Well, what if we were to go to the floor plan site? So we said by link view, floor plan site. Let's just say OK, and then OK. Okay, so you can see it changed things a little bit. Now, how do we know that that's what that particular view looks like in the Revit site file? Well, what we can do is we can actually go and open up a second session of Revit and open up the site file. That's the only way to open up a linked file. If you try to open up a linked file, like if we were to just go here, application menu, open, and find that site file, it would actually force us to unload it from here, which we don't want to do. So what I've done in the background is I've opened up another session of Revit, and I opened up the site file that we're using as our link. So let's go over to that one. So here we are. So you can see it does look quite similar. Now we notice some other views here. Let's go to this one, Site Phase 1 Show Complete. Let's try to get this one to show up. We like this one. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to duplicate this view. We're just going to leave it right now as copy of site. And let's go into the view properties of this view. We're in the building file. This is the link. It's the site. Let's do VV. We're going to go to Revit Links. So here it is. This is what we set previously. There's the site file. Let's just click on By Link View. Let's just go down there and choose Floor Plan Site Phase 1 Show Complete. And then we'll say OK. And then OK. Now notice what happens? It changes the view totally, and now we can actually see all of these different things. Now, one thing we have to be a little bit careful with is in the properties, our properties right now are set to existing. So it didn't copy that setting. So what would happen if we just chose phase 1? Now that pertains to the building. What we chose here pertains to the site. So all of the correct phasing information is shown right now according to just the site file. But if we want our building to match up to that, we want to keep those phases in sync, then we're going to just make sure that this view also says phase 1. And then we may also want to just say show complete. Now what I could do is right click on this view, and then I'm going to rename it, and I'm going to call this one Site Phase 1 Show Complete. So it's as if we've duplicated the view. Now there's other nuances to this. If I were to just type in VV again, let's take a look at our Revit Links folder and then click on Display Settings by Linked View. That's part of it. So I can say I want my view just to look exactly like this other view. Now I can then go into Model Categories, Annotation Categories, and you'll notice everything's blocked. Everything's locked out. I can't turn things on, turn things off. Sometimes you want to turn off, let's say, the walls in your link but not the walls in your project you're working on, the current project. So what you have to do is you have to override this setting and you have to say custom. Now I'm not going to do it in this view. I'm canceling out of this. We're going to make another site view. So we're going to right click, duplicate the view, and we can duplicate with detailing, that's fine. And what we're going to do here is we're just going to rename this. So I right clicked, I hit rename on the view. I'm just going to call this one site custom. And let's go into VV again. Revit links, display settings by link view. This time we're going to choose custom. Now notice that there's a lot open to us here. So for instance, we can choose the phase. That's the phase of the linked file. We can choose different filters and detail levels, some things we haven't quite gotten into. But for instance, the detail of the link view is coarse, but maybe we want to look at it in medium. Under model categories, this setting right here by link view, I can drop that down and say custom. So now what happens is this is all custom just for the linked object. So I could say turn off floors, turn off doors, it's already off, turn off planting. So if I turn off one of these in here, this only applies to the linked file. If I say OK to this, it doesn't affect the model categories. Okay, so Revit links have their own view properties and model categories also do. We are going to delve into this a little bit more as we go because phasing and linking, all these things, they're an ongoing maintenance type of subject. So for now, we're going to close our hidden windows. We're going to save. We're going to shut that down. Carry on.